Hello again, everybody. This is Mr. Everything, and I'm coming back at you with another Wargaming and miniature video. In this video, we're going to do a little comparison of a couple of different companies' flags, and then we're also going to attach the flags to a couple of my units over here and tell you the techniques and show you the process that I use to attach flags. All right, well, I ordered GMB flags on the 9th. It's now the 30th, and I got these flags today, and so I've been putting these flags on my troops. I've been waiting for them for almost 3 weeks. Yeah, so I don't know why this little envelope took forever to get here, but that was to me that was considerably slow delivery. But let's look at the quality of the GMB flags. The GMB flags have an incredible amount of detail. They're clean. I'll have to get into it, but we're gonna be attaching this flag today. Let's go ahead and pull it. It's the Chester Militia flag. Let's go ahead and pull it out of the package. They come sealed in this plastic, keeping it dry and not scratched or damaged in any way, which I thought was pretty nice. This flag, or these flags, are on paper. This is probably like 24 pound paper. It's not cardstock. It's not that thick or anything. It's just really nice premium paper, and it's not glossy. This is like a matte flat finish, which makes the flag look like fabric instead of a gloss. All right, so now let's set that off to the side. These two flags right here are from Warlord Games. This comes out of the Continental Infantry package. The little booklet that they provide for the miniatures has flags. You could either photocopy them on your own paper, which is kind of a good idea, or you can cut them directly off of the sheet that they provide. It's a gloss. It's an extremely glossy paper, and it's glossy on both sides. So I assume, and it's the PVA glue that I use doesn't want to soak into this paper easily. It will. It just has to. You just have to water it down a little bit to get it to soak into this. And then when you form it and it dries on your model, you have this glossy look. So what I do is I go back and dull coat them to get rid of the gloss, because you want your flags to be flat so that they will look like fabric. And then I've got these flags right here. Now this came out of the Perry models. They have a plastic set, Continental British Infantry, and these are the flags that they are provided with. Okay, it says 2 colors were used per regiment. Yeah, the King's color, I guess, and the regimental color. The King's color and the regimental color, normally the facing color of the regiment. But here's the key. We have deliberately left the numbers a little vague so you can use it for whatever regiment you want to use. So when you look, it says regiment. This kind of looks like 63. I don't know if 63 is yellow. And then this says regiment, blurry. And this says regiment. Okay, maybe it's this. No, it's got to be this way. Looks upside down. Yeah. So you can't even tell what regiments those are. So they don't even compare to these, because these, you can actually look right there and you can see the proper regiment, and it's the same on both flags, the 44th Foot Essex Regiment. Okay. But you can see this flag and you see this flag, and I assume these two are supposed to represent the same type of unit. But look at the size disparity. This is the GMB, and this is the Perry. Still fairly large. And then you take a look at the American flag here. Look at how small that is. This is Warlord Games. Perry miniatures are a little bit bigger, and then GMB are a lot bigger. Okay, so GMB, incredibly large. Perry, glossy. Warlord Games, glossy. What I've done with my Old Glory models that I was making my Chester Militia, I snipped the flag off of the standard, or I snipped the standard bearers out of his hands. And then I used my pin vise here to drill a hole into his hand so that I could put a new standard, new flagpole in his hands. As you can see right here, I've taken a little bit of cork and I stuck these spears in there and sprayed them brown, because when they come out of the package, they're kind of shiny. These are not the exact same ones, but they're just like this. The ones that came are like a little bit more brown, but they are still shiny. So I sprayed them with brown spray paint. What that also will allow me to do is when I glue the flags to the flagpoles, it'll have something to grip onto. Because if it's just the shiny pole, it'll move around. And then you might have to use some super glue or something like that to hold it into place. All right, there is a technique out there. I'm not using these today. There is a technique out there that people are using aluminum foil, and they're putting that inside of their flag to stiffen the flag, to allow it to be shaped. I don't do that. Okay, now the lines on the GMB are there so that you can cut. It's made with a deliberate overpainting so that when you cut it, you're going to have coloring all the way to the edge of the flag. Okay. So let me cut both sides. I line all the lines up. Now I'm not doing the Liberty flag just yet. We'll be doing that at some other point. Make sure you've got a very sharp X-Acto knife, and that you have something to cut on. There you go. Whoops. Oh yeah, and I did cut that other side off already. Okay, and so there's your flag, and you can see that this is just paper. Okay, so now what I do is I will fold it in half. I will match the sides, or I should say the ends, and I'll put a little crease in the paper. And that's another thing. This, when you fold it or crease it, you don't get any broken printing. You don't, when you bend or fold either the Perry or the Warlord Games flags, you will get broken printing, and you'll have the white paper underneath showing, and you'll have to go in and touch it up with some paint or something. Okay, so this is folded in half. So now I just V-shape it. Get my PVA, and I put it on one side. I use my tester's brush that I've been using to do, and you can see this glue is really thin. It's almost watery. And then I drag it across and up the other side. So there's glue on both sides. Give it kind of I'm stroking it a little bit, working it into the paper, allowing it to soak into the paper. You can see how shiny it is. Okay, I think that's good. Then I grab one of my spears, and with the spear tip up, I lay it on the fold, the crease that I made just a minute ago. And then I press these two together. Okay, not in any hurry. The glue's not going to dry anytime soon. Any excess PVA I just wipe off real quick. Maybe on a damp rag. And then I'm lining up the ends again, trying to, and you see, notice the PVA glue leaking out. No problem, just wipe it off. Clean your, make sure your hands are not super covered in PVA. I mean, it happens. But luckily PVA dries clear. I'm rolling the flag a little bit over the flagpole to make sure that the ends meet. And don't assume the white that you're seeing is the paper. It could very well be the PVA. I'm going to flip it to make sure I've got everything lined up. Looks pretty good so far. I'm pinching, okay, there's a little PVA on the top. I'm pinching with my fingers as hard as I can to get it to wrap around the pole and make contact on the back side of the pole. Sometimes I'll use my fingernail and kind of poke into it to get that extra crease, but be careful not to damage your flag when you do that. Okay. You can see the flag is separated right here. Well, that's only because the PVA is pushing it apart. You have to actually work all that PVA out. Okay. Then I lay it down on a clean paper towel, and I use my brush. I lay it down and I roll it. See the glue coming out? And I just wipe that on the paper towel. Okay. So all the excess glue is now out. Lining everything up now before it dries will save you having to worry about painting the edges later. Okay. So there's the flag. Perfectly straight like a board. Okay, so now I just let this sit for about 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Okay, so while we're letting that sit, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut it the length of the actual flagpole. Here we go. And you just have to make sure you know the lengths of your flagpoles. And then what I would do is I would normally just stick that back into my corkboard, and I would let that dry a minute before we move on to the next step. All right, I'm back. Now I just took this opportunity to go get my paint palette. I added some water to my bowl there, and I went and grabbed some Imperial Red just to touch up the edges. Okay, so this flag is not ready just yet, but it's only been a couple of minutes. Now, while it's still a little bit damp, but not dry, I take a paintbrush, and I usually, what I'll do is I'll lay it down on the flag in not a straight up and down, but like at an angle, and then I'll roll the flag onto that. And then I'll take the now that right there will work. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay it again on the other side and roll it again. Like that. And then I'll put it on this side. But this time I'm going to do a little bit sharper angle, and I'm going to roll a big chunk of it. Okay, like that. Right? I don't know if you guys can see all that. Okay, so now I've got pressure here, pressure there, pressure there. And now I'm just going to kind of press it all together, clump it, crimp it, you know, just basically get it nice and closed. And I'm going to take this piece, this little bottom corner, I'm going to kind of curl it up. And then I'm going to use all my fingers and kind of just shift and move this down just as if wind was blowing against it. And then I'm just going to leave it as such. No aluminum foil. There's aluminum foil there. But no, I don't have any aluminum foil. Now you can see it's kind of expanding. It's growing a little bit. It's trying to go back to its original shape. That's fine. You want your flags to be out so people can see them. You don't want them too crumped. You want them to be out so people can see the flags and they're flowing in the wind. Don't like this little white right here on the edge, so we'll take care of that here in just a minute. Okay, I kind of like the way that flag is folding and flying in the wind. All right, perfect. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put it back onto the model. Now I'm using some thick super glue. And remember, you want your, for me anyway, I want my flags flowing away from the front of the unit. I mean, you can have the flag flying in any direction you want, but I think it looks best when it's flying back towards the rear of the unit. Like that. I like it. I like the flow of the flag to be parallel with the ground and not like, even though the flagpole's tilted, I don't like the flag to be blowing this way. I want it to be blowing this way. See how that looks? And that's how I get all my flags. Okay, we're gonna have to let that dry just a second. I'll be back in about 5 minutes, and then what we'll do is we'll touch it up with some red and we'll fix it up. Perfect. All right, I'll see you in just a few minutes. Okay, while we're waiting for this to dry, I wanted to show you a couple of other flags that I've done. Okay, so these are more of the GMB flags, but these are for the British. You can see how they're already dull. I didn't have to dull coat those. I still probably should dull coat this model, but I haven't dull coated those yet. The way I've folded the flags, and you can see the size of them. That's a grand, okay, like these are my old Glory figures, and these are the flags that I used to use on these guys. This is before I snipped them. Look at the quality difference. And the size difference. Yeah, these are just, GMB just did a really good job with their flags. All right, now this is a Warlord Games flag. You can see how it's not as shiny anymore. You know, it's not shiny like that anymore. That's because this is dull coated. Yeah. But it's still kind of small. But I think overall, the continental flags were a lot smaller than the British flags. Except for maybe this one. It's a pretty giant flag. Yeah, it looks like red is on the entire outer edge of this model. So I just put a little drop of Imperial Red. And then you just touch up the edges. Just like that. And we're going to keep going. Just getting rid of, even over this little white area, it looks like red is still the topmost stripe. You got to make sure you look at it from both sides. Don't forget to get underneath the flag. You can do this step before you even glue the flag onto the pole, but most people aren't using the separate flag poles that I'm using like I'm doing. But if you are, you could always paint it before you glue the flagpole into the standard bearer's hands. Okay, I think I got every little edge, got rid of the white out of all edges. Okay, and then I prop it up like this because I want the flag to rest a certain way. But there you go. Let's do this. Yeah, there's the GMB. Just take look at a couple of these GMB flags. Alright guys, well thanks for coming out and checking out my tutorial on how to do flags. You'll notice that these flags I did earlier this afternoon, but they're pretty stiff. You know, they're not, I haven't painted them yet, like painted the edges of them yet. Yeah, when that Elmer's dries, it dries pretty You don't need any aluminum foil. Alright guys, thanks for coming out and checking out this video, and I'll see you in the next one.